you're gonna see this. Automatic shutting doors. Pinky was in the way because I was trying to hold it open, and this would happen. So, from my experience, never hold automatic closing door. Tonight, I want to talk about people who I admire the most, and the 3 people that I think of pretty quickly are my parents, mom and dad, and my hubby Sean. And this is my mom and dad right here. My mom, she introduced me to horror. She doesn't even know it. When I was younger, like late elementary, we would listen to a horror AM radio station every Friday night. Loved it, and that pretty much turned me on to horror. We would watch scary movies all the time. She had a line of different horror books, and I would sneak and read them when I wasn't supposed to. She told me really creepy, odd stories growing up in the 50s and 60s in Crawford, Texas, and I kept them. And a lot of her stories have inspired quite a few of my short stories. And I will tell you that my first young adult paranormal doll was a story she told me probably in her 30s, late 30s, 40s, and that inspired doll. So thank you, Mama, for introducing me to horror when you didn't even know it. My dad. This was going to be a struggle because I really didn't know how I would tie this in as far as influencing my writing. But then when Lorelai and Deborah was shooting different questions back to me, I started thinking a little bit deeper. And honestly, my dad laid the foundation for me. And I had no clue until I thought about this. My dad, when I was younger, even before I started pre-K, he would have me read books out loud, and he would correct me when I pronounced something wrong. He helped me with my homework. He knew how much I dreaded riding the bus in elementary and junior high, and also high school. And he worked nights. He worked really hard, and he would pick me up every day when I told him how much I dreaded the school bus. And so he would sacrifice so much, and he gave me tools, dictionaries, encyclopedias, if anyone remembers. And I started reading, and he would always tell me when I would tell him I didn't have anything to do or I was bored, go read a book, go read a book. And I never knew how important that was until now. And of course I would pick up the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, diary series, those types of books. But yeah, my dad laid the foundation. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would love to read if he didn't introduce me to it when I was younger. So thank you. Your question. It's a 2-parter. What was the first book you ever published? How long did it take you from concept to physical book on the shelves? Okay, first book I ever published all on my own was The Doll, and it is a young adult paranormal. It took me about 5.5 months to get it done, and that includes edits, a few edits with my editor. I started out like this, and this is like the second draft here. It's the third. It's like the final 5 pages. There we have it, and it's on Amazon, the Amazon virtual shelves. So, thank you.
A friend of mine launched a magazine last month and asked me to be in the 2nd edition. So I wrote an article titled Why I Write Fiction, and right now I'm headed to the studio for the photo shoot. Having mentioned the article on Why I Write Fiction, and because this is airing on Father's Day, I'd like to talk about my favorite fictional heroes. Let's start with Lance Malone in Direct Strike. He's so sexy, I had trouble finding an inspirational image online because no one measured up to Lance. Part of what makes Lance so sexy is his laid-back personality. When I developed Zoe Hawthorne, I used the destroyer archetype, so she's a cyclone and most of her BS rolls right off him. Let's talk Holt Kavanaugh medium crossing. He's a cannonball, punch first, ask questions later. Honestly, when I wrote him, I feared he'd be too alpha, but the ladies love Hottie Holt. What makes him a standout hero? He's protective and thoughtful, and he has a significant character arc. I want to hear about more sexy fictional heroes. We're here at Classy Glass in Waco, and I'm with Amazon best-selling erotica author Niecy Lane.
Hi, YouTubers.
And my question is, of all of the books you've authored, who is your favorite hero?
I would have to say my Aro from my first novel. Well, of course, he's the first. Because he was not only an alpha hero, but he was an empath. So he could feel everything that she was feeling and going through it with her. So, you know, what's not to love about that? I have to say, though, my current favorite has to be my last hero, Aiden from The Dawn Delivers. He is dominant, alpha, but when faced with a vanilla girl who has no clue, he's so sensitive and manages to bring her around, and you know, he's just everything that most women dream of.
Viewer question, first book, from idea to shelf, how long did it take? My first published book was an erotica written in a pseudonym. The book was picked up by a small publishing house and made available about 6 months later. Independent publishing is a matter of how fast you can clean up your manuscript, and traditional publishing typically takes a year or two from acceptance letter to seeing something on the shelf. In the hue of my computer, thanks for watching.
Everybody has a different idea of what a hero is. It could be someone who performs a service, like a doctor, a policeman, in the military, or it could be a character from a comic book or a movie, or it might just be a normal everyday person. This segment is first airing on Father's Day. A lot of children think their dads are heroes.
Thinking about a dad as a hero made me reflect on my own dad. I was an only child, so he was protective, and that was okay until I was about 12, and then I turned rebellious because I strived for independence. That made us argue a lot, and my poor mom had to referee. But I had to shove those memories aside and think about who my dad really was. He was a provider. Anyone that came to our home was welcome and usually fed, whether they wanted to eat or not. And as an only child, sometimes it was hard when we went places because I didn't have anyone to talk to or anyone to play with. But my dad, who took me fishing, he taught me how to play poker. And whenever there was a roller coaster around, he was game. So, was my dad a hero? I think he stepped up. Because I write romance, I have heroes in my books. I have 3 currently, Eric, Jack, and Ethan. Eric would have to be my favorite because I think he grew the most. The other 2 were the way they were because of circumstance, but Eric actually grew into a hero.
Your question? What was the first book that you had published, and how long did it take from start to shelf? Very good question. The first book that I had published was Echoes in the Wind. It was a story that had been circling in my head probably for 20-25 years. And how long did it take? It took me a while to figure out that I was supposed to write that story. I thought about what I wanted to write about. I wondered, I pondered, and then it finally hit me. Write about the story that's been circling in your head. So I wrote my story several times. Finally, I decided it was ready to submit. Once you submit a manuscript, it can take up to 90 days before you hear from a publisher. So I waited, and I waited, and I waited. On day 90, I got my answer. The response I received was not quite a yes or not quite a no. They wanted revisions and for me to resubmit. So I did what they asked, resubmitted, and Thanksgiving in 2012, I received my first contract. Then came edits, many edits, and I believe the book was released in September of 2013. Ladies in laptops love to talk about writing. We also enjoy answering questions about writing, so if one pops up, post it in the comment section below our video. Our next one goes live on Sunday, July 3rd, so be sure you mark your calendars, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel. All you do is press that little red button, and you will receive notification every time we have a new video released. Thanks for stopping by. Ready?
We're here at Classy Glass in Waco. So, question is, of all of the books you've authored, who is your favorite hero? Am I too close?
Except you can't see me. Hello.